practice, if you're like doing homework, just turn it on and watch a speaker, which would be great.
I'm just now remembering today also is Yom Kippur. So I am recording this session for those folks who are, recognizing that today. And so we'll send this. So if you're not comfortable being recorded, you can go ahead and turn your camera off. So yeah, we'll post this recording later for folks who couldn't be here today.
Josh, are you comfortable with folks just asking questions as we talk? And it could be a lot
whatever works for everybody is cool with me.
All right.
That's great.
Very low maintenance.
Okay. And if folks are more comfortable with the chat, just go ahead and throw it in there. But
I was just about to say it was nice to see heads, and now it's all blank screen.
Yes. We'll keep our heads.
Yeah.
At least interesting faces, but well. So Josh, do you want to tell us about yourself and your, what you do on a daily basis and what you can help folks with? That'd be great.
Yeah, so I'll just tell you a little bit about myself, and then I have a little slide deck I can show you guys, and I can send it out to you guys too if you want to send it out to those who couldn't make it. But spoiler alert, when you guys were talking, inside of this, I did kind of go into like some of the different careers you guys can go into, and a lot of those things you guys were talking about are in there, like concept artist, illustrator, children's book artist, visual development, all that stuff's in there. So we're going to take a peek at that in a moment. But my name is Josh Smothers. I'm the Assistant Director of Career Development, and I work with mostly employers, but because of the nature of what we do, I meet with a ton of students. So that way, we can help you guys with all sorts of stuff. We work year round. So the only time that we're basically not open is when we take a vacation or when the school closes down for the holidays. But other than that, we're here for you guys Monday through Friday. And let me pull up the slide deck that has a breakdown of the stuff that we do with you guys, because a lot of people do not know about all of the fun things that we do. All right, so this is something I put together for this. And again, I'll share this out so you guys don't have to take screenshots or anything like that. So quickly, what I'll go over today is what we do. So that way you guys can know if you want to take advantage of our resources, some career paths you guys can explore. And just for funsies, I did pull out some salaries if you guys wanted to take a look at some of that stuff, both like a national average and then more of a Bay Area one. So you can kind of know what you might be working with. How you guys can find internships if you guys are looking for that kind of stuff, some of the tools and resources. And then as Owen said, if you have questions, you can fire away during the presentation, or you can wait until the end, whichever you guys feel comfortable with. So what exactly is career development? We're a free resource for you guys. So this is part of your guys' tuition. So throughout your entire time here, and even when you graduate, like this thing at the bottom right here, when you graduate up to 5 years, you have access to all of the stuff that we do. So when you graduate, it's not like you lose some access, you still have access to everything. But if you graduate and then you're like, see you later, then that's cool, because that means you guys probably get a job. But just know that we are here for you guys. We do one-to-one career coaching. So mostly right now, because the world is still pear-shaped, we are doing virtual Zoom sessions with you guys. We also have drop-in hours that we do on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you guys can't make it during our office hours, we do provide that. The standard kind of resume, cover letter, portfolio assistance stuff with you guys, we help out. We also do, it's not on here, but connecting to portfolio, we do have a really good partnership with Wix in case you guys don't have websites. And they are coming on September 21st and 22nd. So I highly encourage, if you guys don't have a website, to at least just check it out, because they can show you how to build an effective website very simply. And if you really do like them, we also have a good relationship where they give me 100 free codes for you guys to have a premium website for an entire year. That's so great. You don't have to have like Wix.com or powered by Wix or any ads or anything like that on there. So that's a free portfolio website for 1 year. Yes. Yep. You guys get a code. You have to email me for it though, because in the past we were very trusting and some people took advantage of it. Oh boy. Okay. So you got to email me if you guys want it.
Does that work for faculty too?
Good question. I can talk to those guys to ask about that if you want. We help you guys with job search strategies. So if you guys are at that part of your, academic career where it's going to come to an end and you have to make that leap to the grown-up stage of life, we will help you with that. This is something a lot of people do not take advantage of that I really encourage you to, is mock interview preparation. So interviews, when you guys apply, are going to come out of the blue and you're going to panic yourself and everything like that. We help you guys with that as much as we can. I actually record the interviews I do with you guys and I send you the videos, because everybody blacks out when they do an interview and they have no idea what they said. And this will allow you to be like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that, or I really got to cut this down, or something like that. There's even for you guys, if you want, Michael and Owen, we actually partner with some classes where we come in every semester and we do like a mock interview day with them. Like we do like 15 minutes with each student. So food for thought.
Be great for our seniors for sure. We have a professional practice class, and they kind of do that a little bit, but it might be great to get your perspective. And so
yeah, sure. I mean, if you guys want to bring us in, we can do that. We have a presentation that we do with like simple tips, like when you're doing a mock interview, or sorry, virtual interview, you have to kind of still give the impression of like good body language. And a lot of times when folks, I mean, I'm doing it right now because I moved you guys all to the side. But when people like interview, like you have a tendency to like look at the blocks, right? But you can give eye contact by staring into the screen, right, in the little dot. So it's just simple things like that to make it seem more kind of personable, which employers really like.
that's great.
If you guys are planning to go to grad school, we can talk with you guys about that. Any kind of just general professional goals you guys might want to do professionally, we can help you guys with that as well. And again, available for students and alumni up to 5 years after you guys graduate. So you still have access to all of our programming, all of our career fairs. Right now, they're all virtual because of some obvious things. But when they come back on site, you still have access to come on site for those things. Okay, so now we're gonna jump into some of the fun stuff. And as Michael and Owen kind of were sprinkling some in, there's a lot of stuff that you guys can do. And hopefully you guys are not like Chris from Parks and Rec, but it's okay if you are, because everybody gets past the 0% mark at some point. But what in illustration, as they were saying, like you guys are one of the few kind of like programs that has like a lot of latitude of different areas you can move. So you never have to feel like you're boxed into like one specific thing, because you guys have a really good toolbox of everything you guys can use, like digitally and physically and all that kind of stuff. So we'll take a look at some of these, and we'll see what you guys are interested in. And these are not everything, by the way. There's a lot more stuff. So obviously, just on the nose, like the easiest one is Illustrator. So you guys know exactly what you'd be doing with that. A national average salary is about $48,000, and then in the Bay Area, it's roughly about 70-ish. But you kind of work your way up to that, of course. And you guys will notice as we go through this that Bay Area typically pays a little bit more than nationally, just because we happen to live in like a major metropolitan area. And these are some of the types of illustrators you guys can do. Like I know a lot of folks like to go for a children's book, but you can be like a medical illustrator. You can be the courtroom illustrator. You can sketch the people that they see on the news because they don't allow cameras in there. You guys can be a patent illustrator. You guys can be an instruction manual illustrator. There's a whole like ton of things you guys can do where you can actually physically apply this kind of stuff to it. Fashion designing, which has another kind of movement off of that, about $52,000 per year, pays about $65,000 in the Bay Area. And this would kind of be helping, do a lot of prototyping and sketching for the clothes and the fabrics and, all that kind of stuff. So if this is an area that you guys are into, that's something you can certainly go into. Animation is another kind of like a cousin one a little bit. I feel you guys, unless you're really into 3D, would probably be more in the 2D realm. So this is where you probably need to know stuff like Toon Boom or something like that, or maybe even Storyboard Pro if you guys want to do storyboarding, which is going to be another one. About 43,000 nationally, 63 Bay Area, and lucky for you guys if this is something you do want to go into. There's a whole bunch of, there's like a hotbed of like animation companies around here. There's like big ones, there's smaller ones, there's even some like local kind of like gaming companies you guys can reach out to as well. It will require different kind of application materials from just regular illustration.
Hey, wait, Josh, sorry,
yes.
I hate to interrupt you. There's an interesting thing about working by yourself or working in a team. And some of these
Yes.
jobs that you're listing are places where you could get a full-time job
Yes.
and work versus working from your studio and doing kind of freelance work. And I think that's a big difference between
Yes.
illustration, traditional sense is kind of the artist in his studio.
Yes. Yeah, so a lot of these are going to be more kind of like career centric if that's something that you guys wanted, but there is, as Owen was saying, you can kind of move into that, freelance artist where you in your studio doing things. So, I mean, just because I'm showing you these ones, don't, forget about the other stuff that you guys are thinking about too. Graphic design is one that a lot of illustrators kind of pivot over to at some point, for however long or short the time is. But you can see here about 47,000 nationally. A lot of graphic designers get paid a lot of money here in the Bay Area. And this would, require you guys to know a lot of the Adobe software outside of just like Illustrator and things like that. But a whole bunch of cool stuff you can do with that. Painting, I don't think that's something you guys normally be into, but you can kind of see what the pay range is for that. Some people like to go into architecture. This is one of those kind of fields where if you did want to do that, would require additional schooling to get certified for that. You'd have to know how to use CAD and everything. It does have a little bit more of a higher upswing if you guys wanted to go that way with pay salary. Tattooing, that's an independent one if you guys really want to. I don't know these days how well that's going to be working out. And this is one of the few ones where in the Bay Area, it's actually noticeably down from nationally. I would probably chalk that up to because it seems like there's tattoo parlors in every block in the city almost. But,
we actually have a few graduates that are doing it, and we've had students do their senior thesis as tattoo flash for sure. So hopefully maybe they go elsewhere and they make.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good way. Like if you really like drawing on people, this is a good way to do it permanently. So a whole lot of ways you can use some of those things.
Can I comment on this, Josh?
Yes.
This is such a good list just to start thinking about, kind of the ways that even if you are, as an illustration major, I think you're getting a kind of wide range of experiences digitally, with hand skills, with conceptual skills that'll allow you to kind of jump into all this stuff. Yeah, concept artists, concept art. But I've also seen illustrators apply for things like, assistant designer, art direction. There's a whole, there's a giant range of creative director is one I was going to mention as well. Yeah. Okay. You're on top of it. Thank you, Josh. Yeah.
But anyways, yes, as Michael was saying, there's a whole gaggle of things you can do wherever you want. So some of these are more like long-term, like if you wanted to be a creative director, that is definitely something you guys work yourselves up to, unless you're a phenom and you're a once in a lifetime kind of talent. But, and that will require a lot more people skills too, as well, because you're going to be doing less of the actual stuff and more kind of overseeing everybody doing that. But you can see some of the upswings of, financially what that is. UX, you can always pivot over to that. That's a lot of prototyping and, sketching and things like that, and doing a lot of user research, more technical kind of nuts and bolts stuff. I think this might be the last slide of things. But forensic artists. So if you guys love CSI and you want to do scary stuff that you probably can't unsee, totally okay to go this route as well. And it pays generally okay because you see things you can't unsee. But you'll be using a lot of digital illustration and also some hand sketching as well to, hopefully try and make the world a safer place. Comic artists, which I think Owen might have mentioned earlier. That's definitely a route you guys can go. That's pretty on the nose about what you'd want to do. You can do that independently on your own, work for, whatever kind of companies you'd like to that publish those things. I don't want to say Marvel or DC because that's just on the nose, but there's a lot of other places. Storyboard artist, which was mentioned earlier. This has got a lot of wiggle room too. Like you can go all over the place. You can go to animation, you can do storyboard for TV, for film, for, comics, a whole bunch of stuff. There's a lot of things you guys can really apply this, the skill to. If you did want to go into like more of a TV animation kind of route, I'd probably say familiarize yourself with Storyboard Pro or something, because that's a software that's pretty commonly used. And then I lied, this is the last one, textile designer. So if you guys really love doing, design for clothes and textiles and things like that, this would definitely combine a lot of hand skills, both drawing and also with the actual cutting of things to make apparel for all sorts of stuff. That does have a pretty good window into a lot of, home decor kind of companies. So you can really grow and move inside of that realm if you like. Again, so this was the last career option that I pulled up for you guys with salaries and stuff, but this is not the complete list. There's like a lot of things you guys can go into that I just didn't put on here for the sake of time. And
it's terrific though. Just on the textile designer, another person that's going to be coming to Cave, it works at Levi's as a designer, illustrator. So look out for that. The thing with all these kind of averages of salary could be freelance, so it's a little bit different, like getting a check from an employer. So and a lot of you have had us come to your class the last 2 weeks, talking about this idea of like, you could be a freelancer, you could be a contract worker, you could be an in-house person. There's work for hire, which is a little bit a tricky space, but is appropriate for certain kinds of employment. So, these numbers are like what you might get paid, but you might get paid in a way that's like, if you're an illustrator, you might be a freelancer that also does some contract work, or is an in-house person who's working on a freelance job to do a kid's book at the same time. So it's like cumulative. It might be one job, or it might be 20 jobs or 50 jobs for the year, small jobs, right? Adding up to these kind of like income for the salary, yearly, what we call salary, but sort of income for the year, right?
yeah, actually to that point, Owen, too, like we have a separate thing that we do about like freelancing, if that's something you guys, students are interested in. With that, like the big takeaway is, so like here, if you were kind of like, say like a storyboard artist and you were working for like Nickelodeon or something, just an example, like you don't got to worry about where your money or your work is coming from, because it's right there. But if you are a freelancer, you are the person who is like hustling up the jobs. So outside of the actual work, you are in charge of like getting your own clients and stuff like that. So I always say be aware of that if you do want to go that route. A lot of folks do, and they're very successful with it, but just make sure that is something for you, so that way you feel comfortable with it. And it does take time as well to kind of like develop up your client pool as well. So it usually won't happen overnight, but putting your nose to the grindstone, you can make these things happen. Okay, so the last part that I have is internships, which everybody is always like, wondering about. So a couple of general kind of things that I tell you guys before you want to like get into the whole internship conversation is, I usually get approached by students who they'll say, I need an internship, and it's like the middle of September, and I'm like, when do you need the internship? And they're like, oh, I needed it like a week ago, or I need it next week. Typically that's not how this works. A lot of times internships have hiring seasons for companies. You'll kind of see down here, there's a timeline that we look at. But the first thing that I always tell you guys to do is, before you even like put yourself into a panic, is talk with your academic advisor, talk with your program chair, just to make sure you guys are in the right spot of when you're going to need to do this. Because you guys are supposed to be doing this at certain times. Your academic advisor could know how far along you are in the program. So this will help you kind of figure out like, okay, I need to do this next semester so I can get everything ready to go, because you don't want to put the cart before the horse before you need to. From there, I would say start researching some of the companies that interest you and apply to your program or your major. And because again of what you guys do, there's a lot of like wiggle room of like sideways movement you guys could do. So try to figure out as many things as you can that might connect the dots to that. And then again, we need to look at the timeline of the internship. So basically, like if you're looking for like a spring internship, they're going to be starting to do that recruiting stuff like right about now is when they open that stuff up. They usually open about like 3 or 4 months ahead of when they need people, so that way they can kind of get all the candidates, they can do the interviews, they can, you know, whatever the process they have to do, they make the offer, and then you're ready to go. So that way you can start in like mid-January or something like that, or whenever they want to hire for. So just think of whenever you need it and then backtrack several months. And that's when we should start doing the application stuff.
So Michael put into the chat, but the point that as a program, we're not, unlike graphic design or we don't require an internship, but certainly people are interested. And I think it's a growing area of interest for illustration. But again, you're not required to do it, but
I think it's to your point, Josh, I think it's really good if it is interesting to you to plan ahead during your senior year, you know, as you're putting your portfolio together, getting your resume together and getting your, you know, your interview skills together with, you know, with the career development office, so that when you start, you know, applying, so that, you know, late summer, you've got something lined up after you take a break after school, and then you've got an internship lined up and ready to go.
Well, and when this is for our benefit too, when is it typical for students to really start considering, and when maybe is it a little too early? Because it's not just always like a after graduation.
Yeah, I would say like too early is like if you're a sophomore. Like if you like just are researching when you should be doing it, so you don't goof up your timeline, that's totally different. But if you're like, I want to apply now, like you're typically going to be going up against, I mean, the next slide is going to have the information on that says this. Internships are like hyper competitive, like you wouldn't believe, across the industries. And if you are going in as a sophomore, you're going to have a much more reduced, scaled down portfolio from a junior or a senior. It's going to have more refined things that are more kind of catered to the actual company that you're going to be going for. So that's why I always say, just pump the brakes a little bit. You'll be able to kind of develop your portfolio a little bit more, so that way you can trim stuff down to make it more effective. Because you can say a lot more things with fewer pieces that are really great, instead of like, here's a bunch of just okay pieces.
That's great.
And then the next part that I was going to say, so before you guys even do any of this kind of stuff, this is why, like I was telling you to kind of come to us earlier, because you want to prepare your application materials. Generally, it's usually the same three things. It's a resume, it's your cover letter, and then it's a portfolio. But if you come like way too late in the game, like it takes weeks to work this stuff up. You have to have a tailored resume that's to like industry standards. That means not using like a Google Doc resume or a Microsoft Word resume. Your portfolio has to look really sharp. It has great pieces on there, of course, but it needs to be like really user friendly. That's where like going to something like Wix can really help, because they can show you how you can do that sort of stuff. And then you have to, you know, make sure like the branding of it is great too. You don't want to have some janky kind of thing that looks like it could be anybody's stuff. You want it to look like it belongs to you, because this is your first impression to people. And then one of the things that everybody always hates, and I empathize and sympathize with, and I'm sure you, Michael and Owen, can agree, cover letters are terrible. Nobody likes to write them. You unfortunately do have to write them. And there was a student that I was working with. She graduated from the animation program over the summertime, and she emailed me and she said she was having trouble getting replies. And I looked at it. I will tell you right now, if you send a template, you are going to hear back from almost nobody. Almost this time last year, we had an event called Recruiter Week, where we had 6 recruiters from different industries and companies, all independently on their own. They said, if you send us a template, we're not going to read it, because that shows to us you did not put the time in to research us, what we do, how you connect to it. So I can feel the sadness coming through the screen, but you have to write a custom cover letter for just about every single thing you guys apply to. And this is something that we can help you guys with. I mean, that's probably like the most like requested presentation that I do is cover letters, helping you guys figure out how to do that. So these are the 3 things I would say you need to kind of work on the most, in addition to your interviewing skills. Feeling comfortable talking about yourself and your work, and trying to figure out how you can kind of connect those dots to what you do and what the company does. And then the last kind of big obvious thing on this slide is apply before the deadline. Like I've heard some people like say, do you think I can apply even though it closed like a week ago? It's like, you can try. I'm pretty sure that they're not going to accept that, because they've already got like, you know, 100 people who've already applied, and they applied on time. So Be responsible of when you know the deadline is. If it's, September 28th, be ready to go on the 27th. So that way, I mean, even before then is great, but don't wait until it closes or anything like that, because you'll miss out on it this year.
Sorry, I'm going to just jump in again.
Sure.
Another thing that most people don't think about is to, you're talking about applying to somebody who's posted a position or whatever, but seek out places that you enjoy that, may not even have a position posted, and write a cover letter for that saying, here's how I could help you. And then you're not in a pool of hundreds of thousands of applicants. And my daughter did that and actually got the job because this person wasn't even thinking about hiring somebody. And then she pointed out how she could help her. And
you know what? We're on the same wavelength, because I got that.
Nope,
right
okay, sorry.
I mean, to that point, is it best if that starts to happen, that it gets sort of vetted through you, or at least you get some advice from career development? Because what sometimes happens is we get students coming and says, my second uncle wants to hire me for something, but the student might get taken advantage of if it's not sort of a vetted situation. I mean, the opportunities that are fed through you guys, you're sort of looking out for, like, the circumstances, the payment, all that sort of, like, what are the, because you have certain parameters you want and certain standards you want to be met. Is there should they kind of send them through you guys if there's an opportunity that comes directly to the student?
Yeah, I would say definitely do that. I mean, because of what I do, I get like employers all the time who send stuff for me, and then I can usually smell a red flag a mile away with them, because they'll be very sparse about and then I'm like, oh, can you give me some more details? And then they're like, oh, well, it's this, and we don't pay. And I'm like, sorry, I'm not going to share this out. We do as much as we can to protect you guys, because we don't want that to happen. But if, like you said, like, if your uncle has a thing or whatever, like, if you feel comfortable, I mean, I can't stop you from doing that. Definitely feel free to share it with me, so I can give you, like, our 2 cents. Like, well, he's asking you to do this for 25 hours a week and he is not paying you. That is not a good idea.
Right.
It never hurts to just float it by another person to get it, because I mean, I know sometimes with students, you guys feel like it's never going to happen. It's better to just wait it out than to just take like something that's bad, because it's going to like really impact you guys on different levels, and then you might kind of like second guess a lot of stuff going forward. And
if those standards get lowered, it allows them just to continue this bad practice for future students too. So we kind of want to cut it off.
Yeah, I mean, CCA's got a pretty strong, like, I wouldn't say it's like forced, but it's a guideline of a lot of the programs have to be paid. So whenever anybody, like on Handshake, or they email me or anything like that, if it's not paid, I do not post it. I do not share it out to anybody. Like, it's just like goes right in the virtual trash can.
Great. Bob did ask a question. What about internships for graduates, and how many internships are available for illustrators?
Great question. So we'll get to that second one in a moment. Internships for grads, you certainly can do those. I typically am one of the kind of people who I encourage you to look for jobs when you graduate. But if you feel like, you know what, I'm light on stuff, it's not unheard of for folks to do internships after they graduate. But the other side of that is you're not a student anymore. Like, you are a professional, even if you might not feel like it. So you got to start looking out for yourself. Like, I got to really kind of break into this industry more full time, not just do like a 3-month thing or a 6-month thing. Because interns across the board, they always get paid less than like a regular, employee or anything like that. I mean, most internships will pay at or a little over minimum wage. Whereas, like, if you were a full-time person looking for a job, you could be getting, from like, 25, $30 an hour, possibly more. So, and also, again, it puts you in like a spot of, I know this is going to end in 3 months. I got to keep an ear out for stuff is going to be coming out down the road, because it takes a long time to find jobs. Even when like things are going great, you have a lot of time you got to put into stuff.
So it might be best between junior and senior year, or maybe during senior year if you have a lighter schedule, or
yeah, that's definitely what I would say. But again, if it's your own personal situation and you feel like I need to do one after graduation, it's not unheard of. People do that, but just consider all of those variables for your situation. Because again, if you're a student, you might have student loans, you might have some financial aid you can live off of. But if not, it's like you gotta budget really hard with that $17 an hour, working only like 20 hours a week. So just keep those things in consideration. But we'll jump into this. But this thing right here, this is super, super important. And this is something that a lot of people are scared to do because it involves, breaking out of your comfort zone. 85% of all positions are filled through networking. So that means like connecting with people that connecting through people, like other people outside of that realm. People love to help. You don't want to just come straight out and ask, can I get a job or anything like that? Because that's not how that works. But you can get in front of other people. You can introduce yourself. You can, even when you graduate, CCA has a really great LinkedIn alumni page. I think there's like 3,000 students or people on it. And you can see like wherever, like there's illustrators in there who are like all over the place, and you can connect with those folks and just see like, what was your path like to get here, and they might give you some pearls of wisdom. They might know people. Hey, I know your work right here. It lines up to what this guy does over here. I can introduce you to them. That helps to kind of get around that stuff. You level jump so much faster than just blindly applying to like 200 jobs or something like that. That's not to say you won't get a job from applying to 200 jobs, but it's that saying of work harder or work smarter, not harder. So if like 6 people you can talk to that can get you in front of somebody faster than those 200 jobs, talk to those 6 people.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that, like, I'm an old, so I don't know so much from LinkedIn, but I was made to understand that you could go on there and do a search for CCA illustration, and you're gonna get a bunch of names of folks. Mm-hmm. Illustrators in general are super friendly. They're friendly, and they're lonely. So they happy to talk to you about their work and what it is. Like Josh, you said, the path that got them to this particular place. And don't ask for a job. Ask, like, you just kind of get curious about what they do, and maybe there's a conversation that gets started and gets you in with that company.
Yeah. There are illustrators that go on to, become art directors, and they may actually be looking for internships, or they might not know that they want one until you suggest it. So there are those connections with CCA. I think you're all a known quantity to other CCA folks, and I think they feel actually as comfortable or more comfortable with you guys than with some unknown person from a school they're not familiar with. So right. Use that network. I mean, that's the first network you have. Yeah. And you're paying a lot of money for it. You might as well use it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I'm just going to jump in. And Michael, when I graduated from CCA, I went down to Los Angeles and made a list of all my favorite illustrators. And I called all of them, and I'd say 90% of them, I told them I just wanted them to critique my portfolio, not looking for a job, no pressure. And almost every single one of them said, yeah, sure, come on by. And then I actually got a couple jobs out of that process. But I think there's a feeling that, like you said, Michael, everybody's kind of lonely, but everybody wants to share some knowledge. They built all this stuff up. So you got to tap into that. It's a really powerful thing as a young person.
Yeah, actually, I'll piggyback off what Michael said too. So when you reach out to people, or actually, maybe you know who said it, like, you're a known commodity in the CCA LinkedIn group, because you have the at least one thing in common where you went to CCA. That's how you can start doing something what's called an informational interview. And that's your icebreaker moment right there of like, hey, we both were in illustration. Can I talk to you? Like, that's the easiest way to like get over that hurdle of like, how do I approach this stranger right there? And like we've been saying, like, just don't phrase it like I'm looking for a job. Like, that's kind of like, everyone can read between the lines. Everyone knows what's happening. Everyone's hip. But if you don't phrase it that way, people are much more receptive towards wanting to help you with things. So it's kind of that, it's not what you say, it's how you say it kind of thing. So just be cool about it, and you can develop some long-term relationships that will expand out to other areas of your career. But going back to this slide for internships, so try to decide your goals. So like, what kind of work do you guys want to be in? You saw like all the company or career paths that I pulled up, and there's a bunch of them that are not on there. Decide what it is you guys want to do, because that's going to help inform some of the companies you want to go to. If you feel like it's too broad, like I give people an example of like, okay, like let's say like, you know, when I go out for dinner with my wife, I'm like, what do you want to do? And she's like, I don't know. So I'm like, tell me what you don't want to do then. And then all of a sudden we like get rid of all those things that she doesn't want to have. I'm like, all right, we're not having pizza, we're not having tacos. Guess we're gonna have Filipino food tonight. And so it helps to kind of figure out if you don't want to do things, to kind of narrow down where you want to go. When you guys start searching for internships though, for some reason, people like to be really cutesy about what they call things. The same thing could be listed like 5 different ways. So try to familiarize yourself with some of the search terms of what they call, you know, a specific role or internship or anything like that. And just check the duties, like check what you would be doing. Like, does that sound like something that's gonna, you know, match up to your goals, your major, or anything like that? And then this one right here, broaden your search, is super important. A lot of times I run into students who they tell me they want to do the thing that fits into this small little window right here. You guys will get into that small little window in about like 20 or 30 years. Right now, you need to blow that thing up like crazy big, because eventually you're going to become more specialized down to that thing. But really open yourself up to what is out there, because you never know where you're going to be taken, what kind of stuff you'll learn, the network you're going to develop, the skills you're going to get. And you'll eventually find where you need to go. But if it's just down to like, I'm exclusively going to go to like, for animation students, it's always Pixar. Like, okay, have fun with that one. It's very hard to get in there. And then start your search early. Like I said, if you know when you need to do it, start earlier. There's a lot of things that go into there outside of just hitting that application button. Networking, we've already talked about. Keep applying. Like I mentioned this earlier, but it is like crazy fierce and intense for internships and jobs when you guys are ready for that. You need to really balance the combination of quality of positions with the quantity of positions. So if you're like 5, I'm just applying to these 5, you know, you might hear back from one of those. You really need to kind of amp it up, and it requires you again to broaden your search. And maybe it's, you figure out like, I can't do it here, I have to go down south to Southern California, or maybe I have to go up to Oregon or something like that. You really got to like do some research to figure that out, so that way you can give yourself the best chance to get things. And then in terms of where do you find internships, this is something that people always look for. Some of these are like the greatest hits that people know. There's LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Chegg, Internship.com, Handshake, Simba. Like if there's any students in here, you probably saw emails that I sent out last year. These 2 right here, Handshake and Simba, I can totally guarantee you that every internship you will find on there is a paid internship. With Simba, every internship they do is a paid and verified remote internship right now, just because they want everybody to get stuff. And the lucky thing about what you guys do is you can do stuff remotely. Like as long as you got your subscription to the cloud and working Wi-Fi and maybe like a Wacom tablet or whatever, like you can do everything you need to. Google Jobs has things. Idealist has more kind of like, you know, art related things on there. I think it might have been Brian who said this. If there's a company you're super interested in, you can't find anything about it, just go straight to their website, because there's a couple things you can do. Like you can scroll down or scroll up and you'll see like work for us, careers, jobs, opportunities, you know, whatever they call it as. You can click there. They probably just don't list them on these sites because they don't want everybody and their mom applying to them. They want like quality people to do it. And the people who are going to apply to them are the quality people, because they're going straight to it. And also, if you do this, it helps to kind of get around some like the third party people. Like there's sometimes for like companies like LinkedIn and Glassdoor, there's like third party recruiters that help to staff these people in these positions. If you go straight to their website, you can get around that stuff and you can apply directly to that company and hear from them. Alternatively, sometimes they just don't have things and you can just email them straight up, and they might not have it ready right then, but you'll be on their short list of, we should talk to this person because I got their resume, I have their portfolio, this is exactly what we're looking for. And then the last thing that I will say is relating to networking is talk to two different groups of people, your instructors and your classmates. So your instructors either, have companies, know people have companies or anything like that. They can help kind of pinpoint you guys in the direction. And as a first layer of networking, aside from yourself, they know your work pretty well. So they might know, this person right here could probably help you out with that. Your classmates might have internships at places you'd like to go to, and you can actually get insider information from them about like, yeah, this company is not that great, I would not go there. Or like, yeah, it's really awesome, you should definitely apply. I can try and put in a good word for you. So those are some of the things that I would say. In terms of like, our internships out there, they definitely are. They're very hard to find, like specific illustration ones. It really requires a lot of digging. I mean, I think when I was putting this together, I was able to find maybe a couple of them, but they were all in like Southern California. And a lot of them are with gaming companies. So if that's something you're really interested in, check out Riot Games, because they are hiring a lot of interns right now.
It also feels like,
just a real quick question. One of my clients is looking for an illustrator, and he's using Upworks, and he wanted me to look at their portfolios and verify if they're good or not or whatever. But what's your thought on, and it's not really internships, but it's interesting. Most of the illustrators are in Russia or Belarus or Romania or something rather, and most of them are bidding like $100 for a project. So I'm just kind of curious on your thoughts on that.
On Upworks?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, there's nothing like I would say not to use it or anything like that. I mean, what I would typically suggest is, you take all of these and anything else you can find in addition to networking, utilize them all at one time. Like that's how you really maximize your chances. So, I mean, I wouldn't say just pin all your hopes on, Google Jobs or anything like that. If you use everything in combination, like Upworks, networking, these things, maybe your uncle is legit and has a cool internship that he pays you. There you go. Like that's all stuff you should be using at one time to really kind of put yourself in the best spot to succeed.
it feels like the category of illustrator is, probably the one that's least listed. But so a lot of the ones that we've found, folks that have found success have maybe leaned a little toward graphic design. So maybe in school they had that interest, they took an extra graphic design class, they took Bob's class that teaches graphics for illustrators. And then the other category that seems to be growing for us a little bit is on the pattern design, surface design, Williams Sonoma, kind of the Gap, folks like that are maybe a place to start looking a little bit more. And they tend to I think I've seen them maybe at their career fairs we've had showing up. So those kinds of skills. So if you're really into doing an internship in those categories, start working on your cover letter and talk to those surface design teachers and GD teachers. Like, don't just look for advice from illustration teachers, but if you took an elective with a graphic design teacher and they seem to feel like you're sort of excelling in that area, don't be afraid to talk to some adjacent program, either teacher or chair even. They may have to look at your portfolio again to remind them, but use the network. Alumni, but current faculty and folks, in adjacent programs.
Two things I would say about that is, like, if you are interested in graphic design, like, you guys already have a good leg up because you have a good sense of design, like all the aesthetics that go into that. What I would say is just get like a passing knowledge of like typography, and then you should be like good to go. Like the type nerds in the graphic design world, if you're like, my favorite font is Avenir because there's all these link choices, then you will definitely be like a favorite of theirs. So get a knowledge of that.
In publishing.
Yeah.
It feels like in publishing, sometimes art directors could use an intern that would help actually vet illustrators. So if you have you're an illustrator, you can, you might be searching through, websites and in order to help them collect. So those kind of general knowledges of graphic design and illustration, there's a lot of design firms that need that kind of juncture, that kind of connection. So you might be the perfect person for that.
Yeah. And one other thing I would say too is understandably, if like you really want to do illustration and you're just not finding those kind of things, if you have to kind of find yourself pivoting, just realize like this isn't like the only thing you're ever going to do in your life or your career. It's like the first step in many steps is the staircase of your career. So just be aware of that. Like you're not going to be stuck here forever. You're not going to be at this company forever. You never know who you're going to meet that's going to take your life this way in your career. So just be ready for the ride.
Yeah, one example, we had some folks that got an internship in New York City in a big publishing house, and they're not illustrating for them, but they're working with an art director, but they really understand, they see the other side of the business, and they understand how the office works, that they would be hiring them as a freelancer. So that knowledge is like super helpful for their life. And they look at promos, they know what's working as a promo from an illustrator. So they're getting the other perspective for their future life.
And you just reminded me when I got my first job, and I went through their file cabinets and looked at all the cover letters and the resumes and portfolios to see what the kind of average was. I mean, I was already in the door, so it's a little easier, but it was kind of interesting to see the range.
Yeah. For sure. Cool. All right, you guys have questions, looks like. Who's thinking about an internship? Are you coming here because that's the major concern? Looks like we have 2 students left, but there is an upcoming event, right? In October, it looks like.
Yeah, so we have, so our most upcoming events, we got the Wix sessions happening. Highly encourage you guys to go to one of those. Just, if anything, just to get some feedback on how to make a good looking website. The one in October that we have our next virtual career fair that's going to be happening. And that's going to be, student registration is going to be opening October 6th for that. So you guys will be, seeing a bunch of emails for that. But to help you guys prepare, this is not to go back to that, but kind of why we kind of strategically placed it this way. We have Wix happening first, so you can make sure your portfolio is tuned up. So that way, when you talk to people, you can show them a good portfolio. And then along the way, we also have different kind of event. Like I'm doing like a mock interview event to kind of help you guys learn how to do that. We're doing drop-ins to help you guys make sure your resume is tuned up. And if you have questions about specific people you're going to be meeting with, and all sorts of stuff along the way.
That'd be great. It'd be great to have you, and I wouldn't want to take all your time, but show up to the pro practice. I'd love to get some seniors to really show up to that October event, just because, and I think what happens is in the past, people have shown up and there's like, wait, nobody's hiring illustrators.
Yeah.
First of all, they are, and they may not even know that you're the right person on their end. They don't really, but they see your portfolio. If they see your interests, the classes you've taken, the kind of experience you've had, they may consider you, even though they haven't listed that as a illustrator as an option. And also just the opportunity to talk to folks, even if 90% of them you will never work for. Just that experience of like, hi, I'm so-and-so, here's my work, give me some feedback. And then you will get, if nothing else, you get feedback from folks.
Yeah. I even say like, it's great to just go, and like you were saying, if it's not an obvious connection, like you at least get practice, because we can do mock interviews like all day and you feel comfortable talking to me, but like when the live fire is happening and then you got the boss man in front of you, like it's better to like practice on some people where you're like, I got no expectations, so if I bomb this, I'm never seeing this person again, versus when you're like, okay, it's the real deal, I'm super nervous.
Right. And they will forget. You could mess up at this October event, and if you're a junior and if you go next, they probably won't remember you, so you could do it again. But they won't remember that you screwed up, which you won't. You'll learn experience. But this is why these resources are great, because we will all here to help you out.
Right.
that experience.
I have a question for you, Josh, and I have a comment. Do you have a link to the Wix event?
So
Or the
I will
Wix
email
workshop?
you after this.
Great.
I sent out the email, the most recent one this morning to students, but I
Oh,
will
great.
send it to you after we get done. So that way you
Lovely.
can share it out.
And I can share that along with this video so people know. And then the career development fall internship and career fair. I'm just quickly scrolling down the list of folks who are going to be there. Brilliant Earth, Matter Trust, Children's Creativity Museum. What a great place. And I actually, I used to know somebody who worked there as an art director. Super cool people. The Chinese Cultural Center, Art in Action, House. Tolleson Design is like, they've been around forever. They've been around forever and a day. So they are really smart designers. They're really smart advertisers. They'd be really interesting to talk to, I'm sure. Can you talk a little bit about and it goes on and on. In fact, Wix is on there, so they might be looking for illustrators to kind of like zazz up their site a little bit, kind of the way they did with Roman Muradov did with Notion, right? Notion, that website, notion.so, runs on Roman's design. And I think he's working there part-time as an illustrator and doing very well, I might add. Josh, can you talk a little bit about the format of the fall internship and career fair? Because I know that was a question for some students, like they maybe went to last year's and kind of found it hard to navigate. Can you talk about how that works?
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because if let me stop sharing really quick and I will pull that up so that way everyone can see this really quickly. But I have been thinking of you guys because of that. And I tried to do a couple of sessions to help you out. All right, here we go. All right, share my screen really quick. Okay, so this is the portal. This is our portal page.
Yeah.
What I do every time we do a career fair with you guys is right here. I have 2 sessions I do called Navigating the Virtual. They're the same information, it's just different days in case you can't make one of them. But we go through the whole process of like how you like get invited, how you sign up, like why can't I see certain companies, why can't I register, how do I cancel these things, all that sort of stuff. So if you guys are really curious, I would say like just choose one of these things and then I'll be there to kind of coach you through the whole entire thing. There's reasons why sometimes folks can't get into the sessions. It's because sometimes like employers they put qualifiers on there, like we're only looking for juniors who are in this program.
Gotcha.
It's not everybody who does that, but every once in a while a company does that. Sometimes a student can't get in because you guys just never filled out your profile all the way. Like you never put a photo in there. Like sometimes you make up a major that you're in and then I have to go in there and correct it and, play Sherlock Holmes, go through like Salesforce and Workday just to be like, okay, you're illustration, not visual storyteller.
Okay.
Great.
That's super helpful. Thank you, Josh.
Yep. But for our 2 students left, do you guys have any questions?
What percentage of internships would you say are like virtual right now?
That is a good question. Last year when we were doing the Recruiter Week sessions, one of the companies said that theirs was 100% virtual. Like even to the fact of like, if they had any kind of equipment, they were just mailing it to the people. Like they weren't even coming on site to pick it up. I think it's starting to slowly kind of come back now where some folks are having you come in like at least minimal amounts. And this is where, being in the Bay Area is going to be more helpful because if you have to, they'll be able to, get you on. So I'd probably say it's probably like still 80 to 85% that is virtual. And then even that 15% is not even like full-time. It's here and there for a little bit.
Cool. I have a question that often comes up. We have students that are coming here from overseas and they want to take an internship maybe so that it might lead to a job that might lead to a visa. I mean, they might want to stay in the States. Is that a thing? Is that a pathway that's even viable?
Yeah, I mean, that stuff does happen. And actually, it's coincidental that you're saying that. If you do know any of those students, myself and Emily from ISAP, this week, we're doing OPT sessions. So
Okay.
that way, I can share that out with you guys as well, too. We have, there's one today, which is at 3 o'clock, and then we have 2 more on Friday. But Emily is definitely the person to talk to about that sort of stuff, about like sponsorship and, you know, what types of visas you can get and things like that. But for sure, people do that.
Great. I mean, I knew it was aware, but it seemed sometimes like it's kind of a long shot, but of course, everything is a long shot, as we've been talking about, you know,
Yeah.
internships, you know, it's like, you just have to apply. I mean, this is your future, as especially if you're freelancers, you put yourself out there, you do your best job, and you do it a lot over and over again until it happens. So
Perseverance. I think is it like, I've had that written on many Post-it notes. I've been doing this for 25 years now. Perseverance is the word. It is the word that the Beastie Boys taught me back in the day. You know, it's the word that I've really held on to as a way of thinking about this creative career, like a long-term creative career, you know, kind of piecing it together. I mean, I'm like a super dilettante, you know, I love to do 100 different kinds of things. And so like but really just kind of sticking with it and being persistent. Persistence, another good word.
and just saying yes rather than like questioning, over questioning, right? Prepare as best you can, and then say yes when someone says, you want to do this thing, and then you figure out how the heck to do it, right?
If there's no other questions from the students, I think we should let Josh get on with his day.
Appreciate it.
With a giant thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
And we'll be in contact with you about coming to pro practice this semester.
You got it. And I will follow up with you guys after we get done with the Wix stuff, the information about OPT workshops, if you
Yes,
want to
please.
check it out. And then also, if there's any other questions you guys have about the career fair with those events, you can let me know.
Great. Thanks again. Thanks for
All
coming.
right. See you guys later.
All right.
Bye.
Thank
Take care,
you.
everybody. See you on
See you.
campus. Bye.